So here we go, episode 2. And I was gonna start going into some numbers and all, and I decided, nah, we're not in any hurry. These are only 10-minute segments. Hopefully you can get something more out of my background. You know, back in 1951, I was a 6-year-old kid, and you know, at that time kids would have lemonade stands and stuff like that in the summer out in their street in the front yard, you know. And the few cars that were around, I mean, there just wasn't a lot of traffic. Most people had one car. So when the husband went to work, that was it. There was no cars at home. But there'd be people walking and all. And anyway, so I opened up a lemonade stand. I think it was Kool-Aid, actually. And at the end of the day, I did $1.18 or something like that. And you know, everybody probably said $1.18. Well, Kool-Aid was only 2 cents a glass. You know, I mean, money was different back then. You know, and it wasn't a big overhead. But anyway, so I made like $1.18, and you know, I was walking around. Gee, I made $1.18. Had all this change in my pocket, mostly pennies and nickels. And my dad got home, and my dad was in the farm equipment business, cattle feeders, silos, grain bins, things like that. And his father was in dairy supply years before that. So we always had entrepreneurship in the family, but we didn't talk about it. It was just what it was, you know. I mean, it wasn't like you walked around with a t-shirt that said, I'm an entrepreneur. But anyway, so I started bragging on this money, and I put it on the kitchen counter, and he said, well, let's see, let's settle up. I know, what do you mean settle up? You know, little kid, I didn't know. I thought maybe he was going to give me more money. I don't know. But anyway, so he says, how many packs of Kool-Aid? You know, I used 2. Well, they were a nickel a piece, so he took 10 cents out, you know, nickel and 5 pennies or something. And he says, that's mine, you know. And I said, well, gee, what's the deal on that? Why? And he says, well, you know, I bought the Kool-Aid. He says, now how much sugar did you use? You know, well, Mom put 2 cups of sugar in each one, and he says, you know, back then sugar was probably 29 cents for 5 pounds. He took another nickel or dime out. And, you know, suddenly I had made 89 cents, something like that, instead of $1.18. And that was my first lesson in cost and gross profit. Now, did I realize it then? No, but, you know, things kind of sink in over time. You know, you start realizing how life works, you know. But everybody, there was 4 boys in the family. They had 4, my parents had 4 sons, and all of them got into business. It wasn't like they were supposed to, they just naturally went to it. You know, I mean, some of them started out as car salesmen, then they ended up having a motorcycle store, and, you know, but they started out just regular. Now, I never worked for anybody, you know, so when we got married, we just started getting into business, and started out by building houses, and then we got hit with the oil embargo, and everything shut down, and interest rates went up to 18%. And after that, we decided to get into the retail, and that's how we got to where we are right now. And that's where I learned everything. Some things were easy, some things came naturally because, you know, like the Kool-Aid thing, you know, I realized you had to make money, and you had to make more money than you were spending. You know, by the way, I did go from 2 cents to 3 cents the next day. I raised the price a penny, you know, and I forget what happened to sales. They might have just totally stopped, but I decided to raise them a penny, you know, to make up for the 20 some odd cents he took out of my gross sales. But anyway, so being in business, everybody thinks that, oh, your parents gave you a bunch of money. I'll tell you how much my parents gave me when we started out in business. That's what it was right there. Okay, 0. Zero. They said, good luck, gave you a little advice. They actually said, you sure you want to get into business for yourself, just like I'm saying to you, you know. Now, when we had our kids, we had 4 boys and a daughter, and some of them, 2 of them are managers in upper management, and 3 are in business. And the daughter's even in business with her husband, house rentals down in Florida. And they needed some money, so we gave them 0 too. We passed on the good fortune that we had. So I guess to put it in a nutshell, don't always think just because he said somebody in business that it was handed to him, because probably in about 80–90% of the time they started from scratch. We started with an SBA loan of $12,000. I mean, that's how we got going, you know, and we needed another 12 pretty quick, and then we needed another 12 and they wouldn't lend it to us. They said, that's it, you get 24,000, which I guess back in 1969 or 70, that would have been what, maybe 100,000 or 90,000, but they cut us off, you know. That was it. We had to make do, and that's when things started hitting at home, because you had no money to work with. And of course, my dad said he'd be glad to give us this much to help us out. You know, it ain't easy. You know, he knew we wouldn't learn anything if we just kept getting money. We had to figure out how to dig out. So I guess the reason I bring this up is a lot of people think that it's the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Bull. There's a lot of people that immigrate here that end up making big money because they see the opportunity in America. And they come from countries that have no opportunity. So to sit there and say, oh, you know, nobody's gonna ever give me any money to get started. Well, hell, most people don't get any money to get started, okay? Unless they go to a bank and try to get a loan or something like that, you know. You can get an SBA loans. I mean, they're not always sufficient, and not everybody can necessarily get them. But to assume that everybody was born with a silver spoon, so to speak, so that when you see somebody with a lot of assets, you say, yeah, it must be nice having parents that have money. That's bull. And most people that are successful tell you that's a bunch of bull, and it aggravates people that have money and worked hard 80 hours a week, no vacations, none of that stuff like I've told you before. You live on a day off, an afternoon off, a week or a month or something like that. I remember I used to be able to get home at 3 o'clock and I think, oh my God, it's still light, I can barbecue. You know, try to act like a normal human being. But if you think you're going to have a balanced social life and all that, no way. I mean, it's not going to happen. If it does happen, you're probably neglecting your business. That's all there is to it. So I thought I'd get this little episode out of the way, because I know what people think. We've had it said to us. We have it even, people thought we were not making any money but getting money from my mom and dad. I mean, it's like, what? You got to be kidding. You know why they do that? Do you know why they think that? Because they don't want to think that they're failing, and they have to justify my success and eventually, hopefully, your success by saying somebody kind of gave it to you, okay? I'm kind of venting this time. It aggravates me, you know, because we don't have a thing that we didn't work for. People think that it's so easy, you know, but when they work for somebody else and they get their 2-week vacations and they're paid and this and that, we used to be really like, oh man, wouldn't that be nice, you know? And then all of a sudden we start coming out of the woods, start making some money after 10, 15 years. And it's like, boy, it must be nice having a rich mom and dad. Boy, you want to just go right through the ceiling. And I know a lot of people that are listening to this right now are saying, yeah, we know what you mean. We know what you mean, you know. And heck, I remember selling my car to get a couple thousand equity out of it so I could pay my income taxes in April. You know, and then I'd go out and buy a car and finance the whole thing. I did whatever I could to manipulate the cash to keep going, you know. I remember those days, they weren't easy, you know. Then, of course, most people said, boy, they always have new cars. Well, it's because we had to sell the other one to get the equity out to pay some bills. You know, it's not easy. But to keep this at a, I've got a timer I'm using now so I don't run over. I'm going to stay right about 10 minutes each time. So these things, you can watch them again in snippets. You know, it makes it easier to watch them. But anyway, next time, you know, I don't know what I'm going to talk about in episode 3, but every time I'm talking to you, it's important. And you're going to learn stuff that's going to keep you from losing money. So, hey, see you next time, and appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Goodbye.